What's your D&D pet peeve that everyone else seems to accept? Mine is people asking if they can roll for things. You shouldn't be asking your DM to roll. You should be telling your DM what your character is attempting to do, and your DM will tell you if a roll is necessary and what stat to roll. Low effort players. You don't need to have the complete rules memorized, I get that, but if you can't at least learn how to play your character, you should find a different game. Unrealistic expectations of GMs have always been a problem with certain players, but I've noticed a sharp uptick in this attitude since actual plays became popular. Many players now judge amateur or casual GMs by professional standards, and it can get pretty exploitative. You're not paying, so don't expect an "as seen on YouTube" experience. And no, bringing pizza or soda occasionally doesn't count as payment. That's just being a decent participant in a social activity. Even if you're paying, you get what you pay for. When most people post about becoming a paid DM, I always facepalm at those who think payment entitles them to a world-class production. Some expect professionally painted minis and terrain, bespoke adventures, studio-quality voice acting, custom playlists of music, and a DM who knows the rulebook so well they can run everything from memory without mistakes. When it comes to the price for this game of a lifetime, many people seem to think paying the DM anything over $5 an hour is highway robbery. That's garbage. Sure, there's nothing wrong with expecting an experience that's worth what you paid. If I paid $50 a session, I'd expect more than an old whiteboard and some chewed-up HeroQuest minis. But once you factor in minis, scenery, prep time, books, transportation, subscriptions, plus boring stuff like taxes and insurance, the money doesn't go far. Even if the DM is running multiple sessions a week to spread out the cost, it still adds up fast. People need to remember what they're demanding and at what price. If you can only afford to pay minimum wage, don't expect the poor DM you've hired to deliver a world-class experience. I think it's a gray area. It can be annoying when players try to force every role to use skills they're proficient in, but some DMs use perception for everything. So people with investigation, arcana, survival, or insight rarely get to use their skills. I've played with many newer DMs who don't know the system well. None of them mind if I ask, "Could I use acrobatics instead? And since I'm walking a tightrope, it seems like dexterity fits better than athletics." On either side, I have no problem asking. You just need to be polite and be respectful. If the DM hears you but doesn't agree, just accept it and move on and don't get argumentative. The expectation of success. I think more players need to experience a campaign that goes horribly and irretrievably wrong, just to break the idea that the DM will always make sure they succeed somehow. I've had groups throw a fit when their precious characters start to go down. They expect that, at the end of the day, everyone will live, nothing bad will happen, and they'll win. They assume I'd never put an encounter in front of them that they can't handle. But the game doesn't work like that. Sometimes you come up against a stronger opponent. Sometimes you can't kill the dragon yet, and you need to come back when you're stronger. Expecting any character to work in any campaign. I'm running a semi-homebrew Dark Sun game right now, and had to very gently explain to a player why it was a bad idea to just import their character from Baldur's Gate 3, and how creating their character with a setting, party, and campaign plot in mind could enhance their enjoyment. I know character portability was a base assumption in the early days, and still is for organized play. But for me, it makes things feel too gamey. People try way too hard to make their characters unique. For example, "I need to play a dumb wizard. It's not interesting otherwise." Or the whole, "I'm one class who thinks they're another class" gimmick. Honestly, I think it's just stupid. I could fill a page or two, or just state, "video game mentality." A lot of folks naturally think of Baldur's Gate 3 when this comes up. But video game mentality goes well beyond just mixing up which rules actually apply. It usually comes down to the attitude players take, as if the world works in a pre-programmed way with fixed outcomes and repeatable behaviors. This includes things like generally expecting a lack of consequences for bad behavior, or treating NPCs like robotic nobodies there only to be used and abused for the PC's benefit. It also shows up when players use clever ideas, quote-unquote, that they saw online, trying to create vast wealth or abuse broken ability combos that are just exploitative. Instead of just immersing themselves in the fantasy world, players are often focused on breaking the system and winning, which is the heart of the video game mentality. Crit fails or successes on anything other than attack rolls, as well as crit fails on attack rolls having extra negative consequences beyond just a guaranteed miss, really bothers me. I have a DM who does crit success fail on initiative. If you crit succeed, you basically get a surprise round. If you crit fail, you're basically surprised during the first regular round of combat. So, if an enemy crit succeeds and you crit fail, your enemy gets their surprise round, then the regular round, which you cannot act in, then a third round before you get to act. This all means that someone with a -2 dexterity mod who rolls a 20 can act before someone with a +5 dexterity mod who rolls a 17. I hate it and have mentioned it, but the DM doesn't care because everyone else seems to be fine with it. I think it's perfectly acceptable for a player to announce what they're trying to do and give a rationale for why it could be governed by a specific stat or skill. It's still up to the DM to determine if a roll is needed or which stat or skill will be used. Honestly, players asking if they can roll for something is fine, as long as they ask and are ready to accept a no without arguing. Players just declaring they're going to roll is much worse. It disrespects the DM's authority as the rules arbitrator. But the most annoying thing is the assumption that a nat 20 on a skill check means an automatic success at basically anything. It doesn't. It just means that that's the best your character can do. You're not going to woo the queen in court. If you're lucky, she might be mildly flattered, and the king could laugh it off as a bold gesture. Only this once. You do it again, and the player probably gets a new character sheet. Some play groups wait for the result of the first check before jumping in to say they want to do the same check, claiming they're helping the first character. It bugs me because it feels like they care more about winning than creating a collaborative, emergent story. As a GM, the most boring outcome is just narrating success. That's why I sometimes ask players what their characters are doing right after I describe the scene, before any rolls are made. Some people have danced around my main issue, but I hate when the DM expects you to have the same stats in real life as your character does in game. My first DM would penalize our bard on persuasion rolls because he was socially awkward in real life and couldn't express his argument well enough. Another DM once didn't tell our wizard about a secret compartment in a desk. This was even with a 24 investigation roll, mind you. All because the player didn't specifically say he was checking for a hidden drawer. And I really hate when a DM penalizes players for not remembering something their character would know. Video game main character syndrome. No, not everyone in the world will let you do whatever you want just because you're a hero. People don't know who you are, and the world exists just fine without your character. This story is about the characters, but that doesn't mean the universe bends to their will. People using critical successes and failures on saving throws makes absolutely no sense to me. No, your cleric in full plate with an 8 of dex shouldn't pass a DC 30 dex just because you rolled a 20. And no, the artificer with maxed out int saves, plus 19, should never fail a D20 intelligence saving throw. This is coming from a forever player who is almost never personally affected by it. I just don't like it. Can I do this as a bonus action? Sure. Bonus action isn't something you want to fit in last second. It's an ability listed as a bonus action. Casting spells while thinking you won't look like an obvious buffoon, loudly yelling out the verbal component for something like Charm Person. The idea that playing an evil character will destroy the group. There are perfectly reasonable ways to play evil at the table. As long as you're not actively screwing over the party, playing evil is fine. And alignment does matter. Good and evil are literal forces in the world of D&D, and it's okay to lean into that. Abandoning alignment entirely. Oh, I hate this. Nowadays, whenever alignment comes up in an online discussion, everyone comes out of the woodwork to say it's a terrible system. Too limiting. It just starts arguments, morality is relative anyway, and so on. But mortals getting caught up in the cosmic battles between law and chaos and good and evil is cool. I kind of miss alignment being more mechanically relevant. Me too, man. Me too. I have two, really. One is players yelling, "Insight!" anytime an NPC says something they think could be a lie. The other is players saying that they go into stealth. What? Insight is not a lie detector, and you don't go into stealth like this is World of Warcraft. The assumption that all races and all published material are automatically available. For example, tieflings. Remember, we didn't say that, the poster did. We like tieflings just fine here. At least I do. It kind of irks me that a lot of the changes in 5e24 come at the DM's expense, and people seem to think that that's fine as long as players have it easier and get to feel more powerful. Sure, players lost a lot of ribbon features, but overall I feel the DM is the one who has to shoulder the most work crossing over to 5e24, or really in general has to relearn the most. The new DMG is, once again, largely missing teaching tools for DMs, especially regarding how the new monster stat blocks in the new monster manual now have. And, on average, more HP and a bit more damage or rider effects. The removal of innate Faerun interpretation of monsters with inclinations for both PC races and monster cultures means that the DM either needs previous knowledge, investigate older edition books, or write everything from scratch. One of the biggest obstacles to playing is having enough to get started. Right now, my feeling with D&D is that it's gotten harder for new DMs to begin in 5th edition than previous editions. You should check out Pathfinder 1st edition, it's really good. Taking feats or dips into classes because it's going to make you uber powerful, even though they make absolutely zero sense to your background or story. Players treating background lore and information as a throwaway really gets to me. For example, what god are you a cleric of? Level 5 cleric. I don't know, a war domain one? Or warlocks not knowing what their pact actually is, or paladins not knowing their oath. It's mind-boggling to me as a long-time player. A cleric who forgets their god? Oh, screw it, the god forgets you, you're no longer a cleric. A warlock not knowing their pact or patron? Huh, time to collect that soul coin. Paladin oath? Frickin' broken. My pet peeve is people criticizing the way other GMs or groups run or play their games. Yeah, leave it alone. It ain't yours. Ignoring the rules, then complaining about circumstances that could be fixed, or at least greatly improved by actually using those rules. 2 prime examples. Grittiness. Use lower magic settings, track ammo, food, water, rest, carrying capacity, etc. And spellcasting is overpowered. Don't ignore VSM components, don't allow Warcaster benefits without the feat, use intelligent enemies, make exotic spell components a quest, etc. Apologetics for Wizards of the Coast's numerous poor design decisions and the low quality of some officially published material. If I'm gonna have to rebalance everything almost from scratch, I might as well not pay for the privilege of the official WotC stamp of approval. Go to Paizo and play Pathfinder, it's better. Something that annoys me is when Nat 1s are treated as automatic failures and Nat 20s as automatic successes on ability checks. That's not rules as written, and for good reason. If a PC has a high ability modifier and expertise, there shouldn't be a 5% chance they fail at their specialty. Apply the rules. Don't make crits count outside of attack rolls. The increase in the number of people expecting the DM to just save them from bad dice rolls really annoys me. Play a different game if you want to ignore dice rolls, or have the DM just fudge things to give you the result you want. Confusing role-playing with acting. These are not the same. You don't need to act. This isn't improv theater. You can if you want, but don't expect everyone to do that, or complain that the group doesn't RP if they don't. Playing your character is role-playing. DMs and players despising the idea of playing D&D as if it were a video game is another pet peeve. Sure, it's not a video game, but D&D is still a game, and not everything needs to have realistic boundaries in a world with magic and dragons. You can't just do this. This isn't a video game. Yeah, no. If it's within the rules, I definitely can, no matter how dumb it sounds. There's a reason the designers set aside realism for specific choices. It's called fun and balance. Remember, do not try to bash the DM at the table. That's their decision at the end of the day. Hey everybody, Brian Von VA checking in after the vid. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, ring that bell, and let us know in the comments below what's something that has become commonly accepted in D&D that just annoys the heck out of you. And of course, if you want to support, join our membership program. You get early access to videos, maybe something more down the road, but you definitely keep our lights running. We love you all. Stay safe. See you next time. Toodaloo.